Thank you for attending tonight's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. The agenda will be displayed on the screens in the front of the room. You may also follow along by connecting to the district's website, wcsoh.org. Click on our district link, then select Board of Education, then Board Docs, and select this evening's meeting. There will be two opportunities to address the board this evening, the first being Agenda Item 6.01. The first set of public comments is relative to Agenda Items 7.01 through 11.03. Please state the agenda items you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is Agenda Item 12.01. There is a sign-up sheet located on a table at the back of the room. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board. And with that, Mr. Griffith, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Byrd?
Here.
Ms. Cotter? Mrs. Davidson?
Here.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here.
Mr. Villardo?
Here. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Agenda Item 3.01. This is where we get to do a district highlight and recognition. One of the most exciting things we get to do is really to recognize just the outstanding work that our students and staff do throughout our district. Tonight we get to honor a program that is a joint program with Heritage Middle School and Otterbein University. And so I would like to ask to come to the podium Patty Wilson and Ann Bates to kind of introduce and walk us through this recognition.
Well, you'll see in a moment, these students don't need any introduction, so I'm going to let them go ahead.
Good evening, President Villardo, board members, and Dr. Kellogg. We are here tonight to tell you about an exciting project involving a select group of 6th graders from Heritage Middle School and freshmen from Otterbein University. We would like to introduce some of the Otterbein and Heritage students.
Hello, my name is Meredith Marshall, and I'm a first-year chemistry major at Otterbein University. My top strengths are WOO, strategic, learner, ideation, and connectedness.
Hello, my name is Angela Cicero. I am a freshman at Otterbein University. I am a middle childhood education major, and my top 5 strengths are arranger, consistent, communication, includer, and restorative.
Hello, my name is Tyler Heilbrunn, and my top 3 strengths are competing, achieving, and relating.
Hi, my name is Norben Lumley, and my top 3 strengths are presence, relating, and achieving.
Hi, my name is Sophia Rocky, and my top 3 strengths are achieving, relating, and confidence.
Hi, my name is Cade Carter, and my 3 strengths are caring, confidence, and competing. We are part of a 6-week strengths-based leadership project in collaboration with Otterbein University. At the beginning of the year, 26th grade students were randomly selected by some of the 6th grade staff and Mrs. Bates at Heritage Middle School to work with the first-year seminar class at Otterbein University, taught by Patty Wilson.
We meet once a week during our SSR and lunch period. We all took the Strengths Explorer survey to find out what our top strengths are. We were placed in committees based on our strengths and have been doing activities to learn how to apply our strengths to our academics, relationships, careers, and leadership. Last Tuesday, we got to take a field trip to Otterbein where we toured the campus, worked on our committees, ate lunch at the campus center, and toured the library, science observatory, stadium, rec center, and dorm rooms.
Our culminating project is helping to plan, implement, and evaluate the Hunger Heroes 5K and Fun Run. Proceeds from the race will go to WARM, which helps sponsor Share a Backpack, and the Otterbein Promise House, which helps Westerville students that may need food assistance. Some of us attended the September 4th Friday and passed out literature and talked with the community about hunger. Today we are here to ask you to join us on Saturday, October 28th at 9 a.m. to help with this great cause. If you cannot make it, you can participate in a virtual run or you can help with a donation.
All of the information can be found on the website or on this flyer. On behalf of the leadership group, thank you for your time.
We hope to see you on October 28th.
How about giving them a hand for that great effort?
Thank you. We had a couple of our Otterbein students who are going to tell you a little bit about how they've gained some insights and some great things by working with your students from Heritage Middle School.
Great.
So, as I mentioned earlier, one of my strengths is actually strategic. So I'm on the sponsorship committee, which means that it's our job to go out into the community to actually find sponsors. So we've been working with the kids to come up with ideas on who we think would be great people to say, hey, would you like to sponsor us, or would you like to, hang up a flyer, even just promote our hunger run. So I actually work with Tyler, and he's in my committee. So we have do we have 3 students? We have 3 students who actually work on my committee, and we're all split up into different committees. Angela's on a different committee. My strategic strength has actually helped us organize and work towards our end goal, which is all actually work that's done before the race.
I work on the registration committee, and one of my top strengths is communication. So I use my communication to get other people to get on board and sign up for the race. And I live 2 hours away from campus, so I actually got my parents to sign up. So they get to come down for the weekend and run the race and support this good cause.
Awesome.
So, Ann doesn't want to talk, but it was great that Ann and I know they're all shocked. They're all shocked. So Ann and I got together this summer, and we talked a little bit about the course that she teaches, which is the literacy skills and career exploration course. And we talked about how I teach a Discovering and Developing Your Strengths course for first-year students, and it's all about career exploration and finding out who you are. So we thought it was a great place to incorporate the Strengths Explorer program, which is part of the Naviance system that the district owns. So the students in 6th grade can find out about themselves, what they're good at, and how that applies to researching careers and possible things to get involved with. My students do the same in our class. They have majors when they come in, but like most of us, we probably changed our major when we were in college. So it helps them to see how their strengths might apply to that career field. We've talked about leadership, and we've really, my students have done a great job in connecting with the middle school students. They aren't that far removed. And so it's been a great partnership, and being able to do a community event like this to raise awareness about childhood hunger and the food insecurity in the city of Westerville is important to all of us, and we've learned a lot through that process. So we want to thank you for allowing Otterbein to be a part of your community in the Westerville schools, and for these students who worked greatly with us. And I want to thank Ann for bringing this idea together from her end.
Yeah, you do.
All right. I just want to thank Patty for all her expertise with the strengths, because it's helped me to learn a little bit more. But these kids, this is tomorrow will be the 6th time that they've met, and they only meet for about 56 minutes, and that includes their lunch. So these guys gave up their recess time so they could be a part of this project. So very impressive. If you're free tomorrow from 10 to 10:58, come on over to Heritage and see them in action. Tomorrow will be our last time before the race. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Did anybody have a question you would like to ask? Let's all ask Ann questions. No. Anybody a question or a thought?
I don't have a. I want to know what a virtual 5K is, because is it less painful? You get the same T-shirt?
You get the same T-shirt, but if you are can't make the race, or you're out of state or out of Westerville, you're welcome to sign up for the race. You can go ahead and run. There's a Facebook page. You can post your picture running, and then you'll get a shirt delivered to you in the mail.
That's awesome.
That way nobody has any excuses for not doing it. Right.
So I just, actually not a question, but I wanted to point out, I always like those opportunities where we can highlight where the school district is both excelling and certainly also collaborating, and in particular with Otterbein. And when I say excelling, I think this is really interesting. It's caught my attention as soon as I saw the PowerPoint presentation. Just a few years ago, when I was a candidate for executive director promote at JP Morgan Chase, which is an officer title that is given to less than 1% of the total employee population at JP Morgan Chase. My prerequisite work for my cohort that was being considered for promotion was Clifton Strength Finders. So I find it really fascinating that we have opportunities to create these types of outcomes for our kids, where they can be exposed to things that are being used in multi-billion-dollar corporations to help people do exactly what you're saying. Help them continue to find and identify and affirm their career paths, even in my case when I was in my middle to late 40s. So very cool, and I really love it. I'm really, really happy and appreciative for all the effort that you guys have done. So thank you.
Did you do the strengths finder, Ann? What are your 5 strengths?
I did.
Do you remember any
Do
of
you
your
want to
strengths?
guess? Well, I have them circled on my shirt here.
Oh, what do you have?
Caring, positivity, relator, and achiever.
Really caring was there? That's
Christ, and positivity. Who
that's
does
just
that?
awesome.
Patty, what are yours?
Positivity, see, adaptability, because her activator, we have to, I
Yes.
just go with the flow.
Balance.
Activator, I'm empathy. I also have arranger and developer. Yeah. Duh.
I'm trying to remember what my 5th one was.
Kind of like doing the development part.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. I had strategic, ideation, learning, and positivity, and I can't remember what the 5th one was on mine. Forgetfulness, probably.
Well, it was neat because I got to meet a few of these kids' parents tonight.
Yeah?
And we talked about, did it surprise you what their strengths were? And have you seen them? And so it leads to great conversation. You guys who've done it know it leads to great conversation at home and at school. We're hoping to share the results with the other teachers. You know, if we can get a bigger group going that the teachers can actually see. Last year, I did a program with all the 4th grade students at Mark Twain Elementary. So all 120 students, I got a grant, and 120 or ish students at Mark Twain 4th grade took the strength survey. And we worked with my freshman seminar class last year. So their teachers actually started grouping them kind of project-based on making sure the group had a good, mix of students. So it's a great program. I've been
It is
enjoying
great.
working with it. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Can I go? So I want to ask the kids, from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what was your experience like for this? 10. So you would recommend this to others? Yeah?
Give up the recess.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
A big thank you to Otterbein, too. Thank
Yes.
you all for being a part of this, Patty, as well. Just really, that's just that kind of collaboration, I think, is just so, I think, good for the middle school and the college students, right? I think you all would agree. I just want to say, Heritage, you got some really good stuff going on there. And I want you to remember that. You guys got some really good stuff going on there, and you all are going to be leading the way over the next couple years. So remember what you learned, put it into practice, and next year get some other kids involved.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Give them another hand. They did a great job. Great job. I might do the virtual 5K.
Has to be evidence.
Oh, I can get a picture.
Get Dr. one up.
Okay.
Put your head on top of Frank's shoulders.
As we always say, if you want to stay for the meeting, you're welcome to. Bye. Okay. Thank you. That's the good stuff right there. Agenda item 4.01, approval of minutes, September 25. We just ask if there are any questions, corrections, anything. Hearing none. Moving on to reports, agenda item 5, there are none. 6.01, public comments related to action items. We have no one signed up in that section. Financial, 7.01, we have none. Moving on to personnel consent agenda agenda item 8, 8.01 through 8.09. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, President Velardo, members of the board. Tonight's consent agenda contains 9 sections involving 144 persons. Section 8.01 is the resignation of 12 classified employees and 7 substitutes. 8.02 is the resignation of 4 outside supplemental contracts. 8.03 is the retirement of 1 classified employee. 8.04 is the leave of absence for 2 classified employees. 8.05 is a contractual status change for 9 classified employees and 1 amended item. 8.06 is a change of assignment for 2 classified employees. 8.07 is a one-time payment for 31 teachers. 8.08 is the employment of 14 classified employees and 7 substitutes. And 8.09 is the employment of 1 home instruction tutor, 10 athletic events assistants, 14 supplemental contracts, and 2 outside supplemental contracts. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lori. Any questions? I should have asked before. I'm hearing nothing needs to be pulled out. Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes. Thank you very much. Agenda item 9, recommended action, old business. We have none. Agenda item 10, recommended action, new business. We begin with 10.01, policy 6233, amenities for participants at meetings and/or other occasions. Excuse me?
That's me.
Yes, I was going to turn it over to you.
No, I'm sorry.
He's
that's
so
okay.
excited.
No, this is probably the second or third time, Mr. President, members of the board, this is probably the second or third time we've had this one here. Based on different legislation that keeps popping up, all we really did to this current policy, this is not a new policy, it's a change. We basically added a sentence at the end of it, or a paragraph at the end of it, that says we basically will put in anything that we're going to spend for recognition of staff members, different things, to make sure that it's in the appropriations, and then it's approved by the superintendent or his or her designee. So that's the only thing we've added. It's a current policy. Sean, you want to say anything, or? Okay. That's all we really did for this one. It's just that we added a paragraph at the end of the policy.
Okay. And that's just first reading?
First reading.
Yes, thank you. 10.02, and there were no comments or anything, right? Okay. Policy 6680, recognition. Bart, you have this one as well?
I do, Mr. President, members of the board. Again, this was a current policy. Just for further clarification on what we added a sentence at the bottom, which basically said that, again, the district must have prior authorization by the superintendent and his or her designee with all district purchasing procedures and documentations requirements in place. So just another clarification of a current policy.
Thank you very much. None at this time. Agenda item 10.03, policy 9141, Business Advisory Council. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, Velardo, and members of the board. So a little bit of history and background to this particular policy and the current legislative changes. Recently, there was conversation at the state level about requiring boards of education to have 2 business people serve in non-voting capacities on every board of education as an effort to provide business and industry input into the work we do. That didn't make it through the grind of the legislation. So instead, there was an effort to add some more teeth to the Business Advisory Council component of this. So what it's going to have coming, which is not available yet, are some standards for operation that school districts have to operate under this policy, and as well as some reporting requirements back to ODE. Haven't seen all that yet and what it's going to be. The other caveat that is new to this will be the opportunity for us to partner with the Franklin County Educational Service Center on a regional approach to a Business Advisory Council. And as you know, we've been participating in the compact conversations down at Columbus State for the last several years, where there's been great effort to look at business and industry education pipelines into those business and industries and along the way. So we continue in that partnership. That led to conversation about our local ESC working on that policy to build that framework for us to participate in. And as you know, we already participate in a number of different forums for that serve the same purpose. For example, I sit on the Chamber Government Relationships Committee, which has a workforce development component where we participate in that as an educational institution. Otterbeins there, Columbus State participates. We also have, because of career technical education funding and the growth in our curriculum and those components that we've done the last couple of years through our pathways, those curriculum require by state local business and industry to sit on curriculum advisory councils specific to those curriculum and programs, and we have started those this year as well. Ann Baldwin hosts those opportunities. So we have a number of different ways where we meet this requirement that are meaningful to us. I guess my point is there's going to be a change in the standards and a change in the reporting, minor change in how we operate to move this thing forward. The other thing we attempted to do is, because these changes seem to come so frequently, this is one of those opportunities where we're taking the opportunity to Westervillize the policy, as you'll see, and to make sure that the policy doesn't become too descriptive in terms of what should really be an administrative guideline. So it's a more truncated version of the current one with the Westerville flavor to it. Maybe more background than you want, but I think it's an interesting concept, and if there's questions you have relative to this, happy to answer them between either this evening or between now and the next time you look at the policy.
Good. Thank you very much. Any thoughts at this time?
I have one thought. When I read in the second paragraph, the board shall establish a business advisory council as required by law. I'm not quite sure where my head is going with this, but I'm wondering if that is in some ways, I don't want to say misleading, but not indicative of what we're really talking about. Because it suggests that there is a specific thing, a business advisory council. But what we have here is this multi-layered, multi-engagement component with our own community, with the Central Ohio community at large. So it's kind of like the board shall establish a business advisory council, or business advisory relationships as required by law, or something like that, so that it doesn't suggest that we have a specific thing, which in many ways would be superfluous to what we're doing.
I think that's a good idea. We were attempting to stay away from all the nitty-gritty
don't
stuff,
wanna
but
do
I think
that.
you're right. This seems to sound like we're shooting for the minimum. What we really want to express is we have a robust system and that allows us to still meet any requirements. So we'll play with that second paragraph some more and see what we
Not
can come up
much,
with.
I'm not saying much, I
Yeah.
just don't want to suggest that we're going in a direction that we're actually not.
Nope. We'll work on that one.
That's good. Thank you. Agenda item 11.01, resolution approving FY18 capital improvements construction project, boiler replacement at Heritage Middle School. Mr. Dorn.
Good evening, President Velardo, Vice President Dr. Nestor Baker, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, and Mr. Griffith. Tonight you have a resolution in front of you to approve bid package 10, boiler replacements at Heritage Middle School. This resolution is reflective of Goal 2, learning and working environments are safe, nurturing, and efficient. Heritage Middle School operates on a 2-boiler system. Current boilers are original to the building and 29 years old. The average expected life of these boilers are 25 to 35 years. At this time, one of the boilers is up and running and the other one is down. The boiler that is down is the original bid item, and replacement of the second boiler is the first bid alternate. In addition to the replacement of the 2 boilers, there were 2 additional bid alternates for controls for both the boilers. Bids were solicited on September 28th and October 5th in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. 4 bids were received and read publicly on the 12th. The lowest responsible bid for bid package 10 was submitted by C.G. Egley, Inc., in the amount of $202,000, which includes the first alternate for the replacement of the second boiler as well. The remaining 2 alternates for the controls were excluded. The controls will be contracted through Limbach using state term pricing in the amount of $18,538. If approved, work may begin as early as tomorrow. The substantial completion date for the replacement of boiler 1 is January 2nd, and the alternate boiler January 16th. It is being recommended to the board to accept the bid from CG Egley, Inc. as presented to replace both boilers at Heritage.
So we have one boiler down.
Yes.
And the other one is becoming decrepit.
Yes.
Basically. So, given that given what the boilers do to maintain the climate in the building, what are we going to do while we're replacing those boilers?
Well, the boiler that's still operational will heat the building.
So between January 2nd and the 16th of January,
The first boiler will be up.
the first boiler will be up, and
Second
then the
one
second
that
will go
will be
down, but the
replaced.
second one will remain operational until that January 2nd
Yes.
time? Great, or at least till break.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Great.
and probably through break, too.
okay. Didn't want anybody thinking that we're going to leave all the kids and staff freezing in the building until
No.
we get this done.
And it's two boilers, so they alternate, I assume, kind of a process.
They do, but they will both run in extremely cold conditions that
Okay.
last long periods of time.
Sure. Thank you.
Appreciate the pictures you sent, by the way.
Do you like those?
Yeah, I like seeing the inside of the boiler.
Just a real quick question. As far as some of the other bidders in this package, familiar with them from work they've done in the district before, not familiar with CG Egley, what has been our history with them?
I don't believe we have any history with them. They're out of Dayton, and as part of their bid proposal, after we accept their bid, they have to submit to us some references, and they have some pretty good references, including, if you want to hear any of them, Dayton Jefferson High School, Marysville Elementary, a community college, and been very good references.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll. Did I not do a motion in a second? Because the presentation was so strong, he jumped right
Great
into it.
conversation, though.
And
We just have to do it all over again.
I'm just saying.
verbatim,
Start
verbatim.
over.
Yes, please be seated. I'll call you back up. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second. Oh, you can have it.
He can have it.
Right.
Who seconded it?
Richard did.
Richard did.
Nancy tossed it to him.
That's right.
Now, may I call the roll? Mr. Griffith?
Yes, sir.
Please call the roll, Mr. Griffith.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Dorn. Moving on to agenda item 11.02, overnight out-of-state field trips. We have two on the agenda this evening that we'd like to discuss. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
You thought I was going to forget again, didn't you? These are two DC trips for middle school, Walnut Springs and Heritage we are seeking to approve at this time. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I do. Just an observation. Last couple years, I've noticed that Walnut Springs does not have as many children going, and I'm wondering why and how we can help that. This is a great trip, educationally, socially, so just wondering if we have any background there as why only 90 kids. I am hearing that is not the reason. Okay,
We'll go back and talk with the schools and see what's going on.
okay.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I'd like to see a little bit more data on, and it may be over the past few years, had the same situation when Xavier was in middle school. We noticed a number of students that couldn't go. Cost was a component. There were some other challenges as well. But it'd be helpful, I think, because this trip is a trip that kids talk about all the way past graduation from high school. It'd be great to know what our percentage of eligible students are that attend this trip each year, and to see what some trends look like for that. Because I think it's worthwhile for us to figure out a way to collaborate, work with the community, figure out a way to make this more attainable for more of our students in the district.
I agree. It's been a growing concern of mine also, especially as the district has become more diverse. We seem to be, without really thinking about it, leaving a lot of kids behind as we have progressed with these trips. And they're wonderful experiences, and kids get so much out of them, and it's a lifetime experience. It really is. But we're leaving kids here who probably want to go. So what can we do? How can we bring that forward? I think, Richard, your idea to get some infos, get some data, look at the numbers, take a look at who's going and who's not, and what the reasoning for that may and may not be, would be very helpful to us. It is a cost issue. There are other issues involved for some people, but we need to, as the board, take a look at how it is offered and how it is affordable and what can be done to assist.
Yeah, and a few of us have talked about this, so that's why we're pretty animated about it. I'm not sure I'm not sure all the factors either, so it'd be helpful just to know. I guess I would just like to say, I would like to not leave any child behind because of finances. Now, how we do that, because I know, I mean, I get the I really do. As I said in an earlier meeting, my wife calls me cheap. I prefer the term frugal, but that's.
Cheap.
Okay. And Nancy calls me cheap. But I really wouldn't like to not leave any 8th grade student in the Westerville City School District behind because of cost.
Right.
So that's a discussion, I guess, right? That's a discussion.
I think we've had these informal conversations
Correct.
too. This is a highly worthwhile experience for young people. And you think about what they're doing, they're visiting the cradle of our democracy. And you think about what 8th grade social studies is, there's great opportunity here. And when you think about costs and you break it down, there's transportation, there's buses, and there's shared rooms. It's not that insurmountable. And I can tell you from experience, at least in one other district I worked, that the superintendent, through the board, made the mandate that all kids were going, and we'd find a way to make it happen, and it was a financial issue. So it can be done. It takes a lot of partnership and a lot of scrubbing it down, and I think knowing our middle school people, they'd be very excited for us to help find a way to make this happen for all kids, and I think the community would. And I can't think of, there are children who this might be there are children who go, and this may be their second or third time going, and there are children who may never get there. And those of us who have experienced it, not just from 8th grade on, but any experience in that part of the country is memorable when you think about all of the opportunities that are there once you're there that are not expensive, from the museums to the visits to the memorials that are part of American history that are no cost. And when you go there, if you have in the spring, it is full of 8th graders from all over the country. So I think it'd be wonderful for us to take on that challenge and find a way to make it happen. So we'll work on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Griffith, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo.
Yes. Agenda item 11.03, approval of student candidate for graduation from Westerville Central High School. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is anyone speaking to this?
I can, or Mr. Reeves, either one of us can answer questions, but the bottom line is this is a young person who came to us from another school district that has a local requirement for graduation that's not a state requirement. He, at one point, if I got this right, Scott was a resident in our district, attended our schools, moved, attended to another school district, was unable to graduate on time there because of their local requirement. In the process, they were relocating to into Westerville at that time, and Mom was looking to re-enroll him so he could finish. But bottom line is, once he re-enrolls, he's met all the graduation requirements because we don't have additional requirements above the state. And so that makes him a candidate eligible for graduation. And so our policy is the board approves all candidates for graduation, so his name's in here in front of you so that we can give this young man a diploma and let him move on.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we're honored to do that. Any questions, comments? Mr. Griffith, please call the roll.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo.
Yes. Agenda item 12.01, public comments. We have one person signed up this evening. Mr. Austin Owens, please come to the podium and share with us.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm here today because I have a concern as a parent and as a future educator about a section in the board policy, section 5610, regarding suspension and expulsion. It comes to the section on responsibility for schoolwork. And I'm quoting here from the board policy. Credit will be given for work missed up to 75% credit due to out-of-school suspension, provided the student completes and submit all required assignments upon return to school. The concerns I have is, what's the rationale for punishing a student who's already been punished by suspension by preventing them from getting 100% completion on work that they have put their time and effort into? Math is hard enough, and to go through your math homework, get it done, first of all, and then receive 75% credit on it by virtue of just being suspended. Now, just being an operative term here, but it doesn't seem, I don't want to say fair or just, but it doesn't seem in the spirit of education to condemn a student to a 75% total grade on a subject that they may or not be good at, but have put the time and effort in, do their suspension, because as a suspended student, the only thing you have to do is your schoolwork at this point. My concern is, why isn't it the other way? Why isn't the wording, a student must complete 100% of their work so that they can get full credit and they can learn and grow and develop? The other concern I have is in the high school student handbook, the wording is different. It says a student may earn up to 75%. I know that word may can be switched and be an operative word and used many different ways. So I would like it to be, if at all possible, my comment would be, could we either remove this section or make it so that the student is encouraged to use this time that they're suspended to do the best and to learn the best and to use their resources wisely so that they have the time to grow and develop from whatever infraction got them suspended, so that they're using their time wisely as students and as future citizens of Westerville and Central Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owens. We appreciate your comment. Did you have something? Oh, you were looking at me. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 13.01, brief board comments. Anyone? No?
Just briefly.
Sure.
Typically, if there are situations that we're able to address in the moment, we certainly will. Most of us here have pulled up that board policy and are taking a look at it immediately. We've worked very hard. This particular policy was revisited and updated just this year. Pardon me? Yep. But we work really hard to make sure that there aren't any inconsistencies between published standards and policies and board policies. So that would be step number one. And step number two, we will certainly take action to understand the origin of the policy statement, what the history is, and I am certain that one of us or the administration will reach back out to you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any others? Appreciate always fresh eyes and some good thoughts. Really, thank you for coming. And thank all of you for coming. Many of you, thank you for coming. And those that had to. No. Moving on to agenda item 14.01, a board will meet in regular session Monday, October 30, Monday, November 20, 6 o'clock here in the Early Learning Center. And with that, may I have a motion and a second for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Griffith, please call the roll.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes, we are adjourned.